This is Patricia Raskin Positive Living on News Talk 630, WPRO, and 99.7 FM. The program that brings you practical strategies and positive solutions to help you live the kind of life you really want. To speak with Patricia and her guest, call 438-WPRO or toll free at 1-800-321-WPRO. Now, here's Patricia Raskin.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Patricia Raskin Positive Living. And happy pre-Valentine's Day to all of you. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day, as you know. And I just want to say that if you're not expecting roses on Valentine's Day, go get yourself some. Buy yourself a dozen roses. I wish you all love. And that's for men and for women. We're very excited today. I have a terrific 2-hour program for you, power-packed. And my first guest is an internationally well-known author. I'm always so excited to have her on the program. Ron, my co-host, isn't with me today, and so I am here. And my first guest is talking about love. Of course, we have Valentine's Day tomorrow, but she's talking about unconditional love, love for no reason. My guest is Marci Shimoff. And Marci Shimoff is celebrated as a transformational leader and #1 New York Times bestselling author. In addition to authoring the worldwide bestseller Happy for No Reason, she's co-author of 6 of the top-selling titles in the Chicken Soup for the Soul series and a featured teacher in the international movie and book sensation The Secret. And over 28 years, she's inspired millions of people through her breakthrough methods. Now, her brand new book, which I'm holding up in the webcam for those of you who are listening on 630WPRO.com, is called Love for No Reason. 7 Steps to Creating a Life of Unconditional Love. Welcome, Marci.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be with you again. I always love talking with you.
Oh, thanks so much. Well, what's the difference, Marci, between Love for No Reason and Happy for No Reason?
Well, they both have the same concept, which is about experiencing these happiness and love unconditionally. In other words, it doesn't matter the person, situation, circumstance that you're in, that this is an inner state. But when I finished writing Happy for No Reason, I did some soul searching, and I thought, okay, what do I want more than happiness? Because in that book, I had interviewed 100 unconditionally happy people, and I did what they told me to do, and it worked. I definitely became happier. So I did some soul searching, and I realized that the only thing that I wanted more than happiness was love. That ultimately, I think love is the one thing we all want more than anything in life.
So did you interview people about love in this book?
I did. I went and I found, in this case, I interviewed 150. I call them my love luminaries. These were people who were really living with an inner state of love. They were lit up from within, and you could feel it in their presence. You know,
and so they weren't necessarily in a relationship, correct?
That's correct. Some were, some weren't. But it was about experiencing an inner state of love that didn't depend on a particular person or relationship.
Well, that's what I want to talk about, Marci, because, you know, for a lot of people, I mean, Valentine's Day is a wonderful day of love, but there are people who aren't in a relationship. They've either lost loved ones, or they wish they were in a relationship, or they don't choose to be in a relationship in terms of the intimate relationship. And so my question is, how do we all celebrate Valentine's Day?
Well, it's through recognizing that love doesn't mean only just a stream of energy between two people, and that's how we've been taught to think of love. Is, you know, it's something that happens between two people. The reality is that we are love. Now, I know that sounds a little airy-fairy, but there's some science behind this, and we'll get to that in a minute. What the difference is when we think that love is just something that happens between two people, we walk around, I call it as like love beggars, with a little cup going up and trying to get our cup filled from every relationship that we have. But the reality is that we are the ocean of love. And when we recognize that, when we experience that, when we remove the blocks to experiencing that, then it just overflows. And it's a natural thing that overflows. We don't have to go get it from outside of ourselves. And instead of being a love beggar, we become what I call a love philanthropist.
Okay, Marci, what about people who really are happier in relationship? They have love around them, they have family, they have friends, But they're happier when they're in a relationship with a significant other.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as your experience of love doesn't depend on that, as long as that relationship adds to your experience of love rather than your experience depending on it. Because when we depend on a relationship to give us that experience of love, we become hostage to that. Our freedom is gone. So, and I don't mean freedom in the sense of, I mean freedom in the internal sense. And it's, I like to use an analogy of somebody like the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is experiencing a state of love. And from that state, he has a particular lifestyle as a monk, but other people could experience that inner state of love and bring that to the relationship, and it's a whole different ballgame when you do that.
All right, we're going to talk about the doorways of love. Folks, you're welcome to give us a call. We have on an international expert who's one of my favorite guests, Marci Shimoff. She's the best-selling author of Happy for No Reason, and now her new book is Love for No Reason. So please give us a call at 438-WPRO or 800-321-WPRO. Okay, Marci, you talk about doorways, different doorways of love. One is doorway of safety. What do you mean? Be in the here and now.
When we're able to feel more safe in life, when we feel a general sense of being held up by life, that life is for us, and we're able to be present in the here and now, it's what Eckhart Tolle talks about in The Power of Now, we're able to open up our hearts more. And, I'm very practical. So I always like to give experiences and tools and techniques. So maybe we could do a little practice or tool that can give us a sense of what I mean by this.
Sure.
Okay. This is a tool called the Inner Ease Technique. And I learned it from a group called the Institute of Heart Math. They're the world's leading researchers on the heart and on our emotions, on love. And this moves us from what is called the stress response, which many of us spend a lot of our lives living in, and we know what that feels like, to something called the love response, which you'll experience in just a moment. This is a 3-step process. It takes just about a minute to do, and I really invite you all to do this so you can experience what I'm talking about. Now, if you're driving, you probably want to wait until you get to your destination to do this, but for the rest of everyone else, join in, and you can do this with the eyes opened or closed. So the first step is to put your hand over your heart area. Now, that very simple step of just putting the palm of your hand over the center of your chest, over your heart.
Okay, I'm doing that.
Good. That simple step begins the release of a chemical called oxytocin. And oxytocin is dubbed the love hormone. It's what we feel when we feel bonded and connected with each other. But just putting your hand over your heart starts the release of oxytocin on your own.
Why is that, Marci? The warmth?
I don't know the actual physiological answer to why that works. I just know from a number of scientists that it does do that. And you'll notice, by the way, when people are feeling love, when you look at a little baby or at a cute puppy, oftentimes you'll automatically just put your hand over your heart. It's just an automatic sense. So that's the first step. Now, the second step is to imagine that you're breathing in and out through the center of your heart. So you can either picture that or feel that your breath is coming in and out through the center of your heart. It's called heart-focused breathing. And then the third and final step is to imagine on each in-breath that you are breathing in ease, that you're breathing in love and care and compassion. And just regular out-breaths or exhales. But on each inhale, next time you inhale, breathe in love. Breathe in care and ease. And one more inhale, inhaling ease and care and compassion and love. And you can take your hand down and open your eyes if they were closed. And now, Patricia, that took maybe a minute and a half. Tell me, what is your experience right now as compared to a minute and a half ago?
Well, I feel calm. I feel calmed down. I think my question for you is for people who are excited or not in that space, would they need to wait, Marci, until they're in a space where they feel they can do this exercise?
Great question. And the way this exercise works is that you do it any time. And when you're feeling the most stressed out is often when you're going to get the best results from doing it. Now, doing it once doesn't do anything. I mean, it feels good. But if you do this 3 or 4 times a day for the next couple of weeks, it's so simple, but the reality is what you'll experience is that you're habituating this love response so that it becomes more and more your default state. You're training yourself. You're training it. And I've done this. I've been on about 70 interviews in the last 3 weeks, and I've done this on every interview. And what I notice now is all I have to do is put my hand up to my heart, and immediately my body starts warming. My heart area starts warming up. It spreads through my body. Yes. I start feeling this deep state of love.
Well, and that's what we all. Just think if every listener that listened to you did this, think about how the world would instantly be kinder and gentler, Marci. Think about that for a minute.
It would, and people say, "Oh, this is so simple; it can't possibly do anything." But what I've found is that it's the simple things, but done consistently, that create a change in our lives.
All right, I want to ask you about some of these people that you interviewed. You call them the love gurus. What would you say are 1 or 2 or 3 characteristics that all of them repeated to you that they had in common?
What was great is that they really did share a number of qualities, and one of them is that they were able to be present in the here and now, that they experienced very much being just, when I was talking with them, they would be very, very present. Yeah. They also felt a sense of connection to other people, to nature. They trusted that we live in a friendly and supportive universe. They were able to live in the flow of all of their feelings, whether good or bad. They didn't resist their feelings. They let them move through them. They were compassionate. They spoke and they listened from the heart. And they were able to be non-judgmental towards themselves and others.
And what would happen when they were disappointed or angry or someone hurt them? Would they feel it and then let it go and move on?
They would. They would feel it. They wouldn't resist it. And oftentimes they would use some of these tools that I mention in Love for No Reason. And I think the tools are an important piece. And may I give you a story?
Yeah, let's do a story, and then I'd love another tool for our listeners.
Okay. So this is a story from one of my love luminaries named Sally Salve. The week before her 50th birthday, she was rushed to the emergency room because she was violently ill. The doctors examined her and told her that her liver was failing and that it looked as though a cat had chewed it. And they said that she needed a transplant, and they didn't give her more than 3 days unless she had this transplant. Well, miraculously, on the 3rd day, they found her a liver. They did the transplant surgery, and all was well for about a year. Until she went back to the doctor for another routine exam, and the doctor told her that this liver was failing also, and she would need another transplant in the next few months. Well, Sally was shocked by this because she had no idea what was going on. Her family had no history of liver disease. She never drank. She didn't know what was causing this. But that same visit, she met a woman in the waiting room who had just had her 3rd liver transplant in 3 years. And the woman was the most angry, negative, critical person she'd ever met. And this reminded Sally that in Chinese medicine, every organ is related to an emotion.
Yes.
And the liver is associated with anger.
Yes.
So Sally did a little bit of soul searching and trying to find where she was angry in her life. And she realized that she didn't express a lot of anger outwardly, but that she was angry towards herself. She had grown up in a very judgmental family and was always criticizing herself. She was beating herself up. She never thought she was good enough. And so at that moment, Sally made a commitment to herself to practice self-love techniques every day, which is what she did. A few months later, she went back to the doctor for the exam to get her ready for the transplant surgery. And the doctor said, "I have no idea what happened. Your liver is completely healed. This is a medical miracle." Now, that was 18 years ago.
Isn't that amazing?
She has never needed that transplant, and she is one of the most love-filled people I've ever met. And that's the power of doing specific techniques and practices.
All right. So it's really dealing with your anger. So even though you may have friends that seem very together and very calm, that doesn't mean they're not feeling anger. And as you're saying, if you don't express it in some way, then it can obviously eat your organs.
And not just expressing it, but dealing with it. And expressing it isn't the only way to deal with it. You wanted me to share another technique. Let me share one of my favorite techniques for dealing with any kind of anger, resentment, lack of forgiveness. Because when we can't forgive, we can't experience greater love. We can't open our hearts. Holding on to grudges is one of the things that hurts us the most. So this technique is called Ho'oponopono. And I promise you it's a lot easier to do than it is to say. It's Ho'oponopono is an ancient Kahuna Hawaiian technique of forgiveness. And if you got a pen and paper, I want you to write these 4 sentences down.
Okay.
They are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm going to repeat those. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And what you do is you feel these 4 phrases, these 4 things towards the person or situation that you are holding resentment or anger towards, and even towards yourself. And it doesn't matter who is the wrongdoer. Practicing feeling these 4 things, doing this 5 minutes a day over the next week or two, you will absolutely notice shifts. And I'll just share with you a story of how I used this in my own life and what profound impact it had. About a year and a half ago, my sister and I got in an argument, and we stopped talking to each other. Now, this had never happened before, but it was very painful, and I was stuck in my position. She was mad at me for something. I didn't think I deserved it, and I wasn't going to give in. How dare she? And I held on to this for about 3 months until one day our family gathered to move my mother from her home of 58 years to assisted living. And I walked into her new apartment where my family was gathered to unpack her, and I greeted everybody except my sister. I was the last one to arrive, and I didn't even look at my sister. Didn't say hello, didn't hug her, nothing. The whole morning passed, and I ignored my sister completely. We ignored each other. And about 3 hours into this, I was so uncomfortable that I decided to go to my car and take a break. And on the way to the car, I remembered Ho'oponopono. So I sat in my car for 10 minutes, and I practiced this towards her and towards myself. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
And then what happened?
My heart melted. I just cracked open. I realized that my sister wasn't mad at me for what had happened a few months earlier.
She was mad at you from before.
It was a build-up. It was a build-up. So my whole heart shifted. I felt all this understanding towards her, this compassion. I went back into the apartment, and I didn't say anything. 3 or 4 minutes later, she came over to me, took me by the hand, out of the blue, and said, come on, let's go unpack Mom's closet together.
So do you think she felt your energy, Marci?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
something
amazing.
Shifted.
Well, we have a couple minutes before break, and then we have a couple minutes after that to wrap up. But this is very powerful material. And you know what I want to say to the audience is you may be listening to this, and I can hear my naysayers saying, oh, yeah, this isn't going to work for me. Well, it's not going to work for you if you don't even try it. And I think what you're saying, Marci, is that you've interviewed hundreds of people and thousands of people who've done these techniques, and it has worked for them. So I'm saying to listeners, and I think Marci is too, open your hearts, try some of these things. This is the Love Month, and tomorrow is the Love Day. So, Marci, when we come back, I want to tell people how they can find out more about your books and your seminars. My guest is the world-renowned Marci Shimoff. Her newest book, Love for No Reason, 7 Steps to Creating a Life of Unconditional Love. She's a New York Times bestselling author of Happy for No Reason. And you can call us after the break, or you can certainly email me, patricia@patricia.com, patriciaraskin.com. You can write to me on Facebook, Patricia Raskin Positive Radio. I'm holding up the book in the webcam. Stay tuned, folks. You're listening to Patricia Raskin Positive Living right here on News Talk 630 WPRO 99.7 FM and on the web at 630WPRO.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. We are back. You are listening to Patricia Raskin Positive Living. We're here on News Talk 630 WPRO 99.7 FM, and we are on the web at 630WPRO.com. We have a couple minutes before we break for the news, and I have on just an amazing guest, Marci Shimoff. Actually, we have 1 minute. Love for No Reason is her book. She's the best-selling New York Times best-selling author of Happy for No Reason. Marci, we're going to have to go, but tell people how they can find out about your books.
www.thelovebook.com. That's thelovebook.com. And if you go there, we have 12 free bonus gifts about how you can experience more love in your life. They're fantastic. And I just welcome everybody to join in on love.
Okay, and write to Marci and say when you buy the book that you heard it right here on the show. So terrific. Marci, we're going to have you back. Thank you so much. Any closing thoughts about love?
Just that I wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day and love that lasts, which is this inner state of unconditional love.
Oh, thank you so much, Marci. All right, folks, we're going to be going to the news right here on News Talk 630 WPRO and 99.7 FM and on the web at 630WPRO.com. I'm Patricia Raskin for Patricia Raskin Positive Living.